Alright guys, so today is the 28th of February 2024, of course, unless you're watching from the future. But yeah, so this based on the title of this video. I usually don't come up with the title of a video before I make it because usually it's straight off the dome. But today, this morning when I went out to get some movement in, before I could even get some movement in, I walked over to the park and over to the grass field, and before I could even get any movement in, I had to vent. I had to vent to myself. I had to get real with myself about some things and just talking, and it led me to the title of this video. Thinking about the stuff about the title of the video, which again is using girls to reach fulfillment and to feed my ego. That couldn't be more true. And as I was having these thoughts, sitting with myself, the first thought of any girl, because I wasn't thinking about any of this stuff, and one of the first girls that popped up in my head is I'm not gonna say her name, but a girl I was talking to towards the end of 2022 before my road trip, and as she first came into my head, the rest of me getting movement in and then going to the gym and going in the sauna, I just kept having these memories and thoughts pop up in my head, and that's where it led me to making that, creating that title. And so that's what this video is going to be about. And really on how to start about it, you know. Gosh, it's so deep with how far back this goes, way back. So I would, my worth, how I would view my worth was the girls I could get. The only time I felt fulfilled in my life, other than more than anything ever has, yeah, I'd say other than family time with siblings and such, other than that, the utmost thing that brought the most fulfillment in my life, that made me feel complete, was a woman's attention. Just her attention and her cherishing me, right? And it also goes into how it would feed my ego as well, which I'll get into. And so these, you know, as I've said in past videos, I was hyper sexualized as a child, and not that I was touched or anything or molested, not for what I can remember, but no, I highly doubt it, other than that one incident I've talked about, but that was nothing too big. You know, I talk about how I came into, when I was a very little child, my parents were still married, which they got divorced at like 6 years old, something like that. 7 years old probably, or they split at 7 years old. And so while we were all living together, I would get really scared, and I would always run into the room. I would more sneak into the room because for the times I can remember, they never really were aware that I was in there. And you know, it really started off with them having sex all the time and not seeing, you know, they wouldn't do it in front of me or anything. It's just I would sneak into the room and I would lay at the end of their their bed frame and just lay there out of terror and fear, and not that they're having sex, but of the dreams and just the darkness, because I'd get really freaked out by the dark before. And yes, that I would see that. I probably didn't really click any of that together though as to what it was until my parents split. And after, because when my parents split, first I went with my dad, but eventually my dad was just so bad off, turning into an alcoholic and highly depressed, that he ended up giving me back to my mom. And because he saw she was actually doing better, which is why he took me and my sister away from her at the beginning of that split, because she was going a little cuckoo. But he saw she was getting better, getting her life together, so he gave us back to her. But little did he know she was a shit show. But when I moved in with her, it was a lot of seeing naked guys. I'd walk into a room after she went to work, and there'd be a guy naked with a rock hard boner just laying in the bed. I would get on the computer and I came across porn. And so and that's 7 years old time, and at that time me and my friends would watch porn. We would, all these things, and then also how I talk about how hypersexualized I was, even with my mom taking me to parties or get-togethers with other families, this or that. I would be playing with their daughters. We would be playing with the girls around town or around the neighborhood, doing all these things. And I really can't remember. I'm still trying to clear up some fog to try to remember what's really made this my priority in my life, which was women, which was always seeking out women, and not in a way to marry them or date them, just to get the attention from them. And because through the attention brought me a feeling of feeling worthy and made me feel fulfilled. Without a woman's attention, I felt lack. I didn't feel complete. And so it's crazy because there's just so much, like when it comes to this sexual stuff in my life, it is so much from a young age all the way up to now. So with Livy, she was, how we met was through an old job. It was my first time working like a minimum wage job, being a server over at an Irish pub. And she worked there as well, so that's how we met. Leading up to that was 2022. I had just gotten out of my deep depression, moved over to my mom's because I didn't have my car. It was still getting fixed up so I could go on my road trip. And so because I got in a huge argument with the person I was living at that time, I dipped out of their place, went to my mom's since she lived nearby, stayed there till I got my car, got a job in the city. And then it was so hectic at my mom's house that I immediately, as soon as I got my car, I just started living out of my car, because I was like, well, this is my plan anyways in the future, which I had no idea when, but at some point I might as well get some experience with it now to be well prepared when I go on my road trip. And so after getting out of the one guy's place, I started working on myself because I got a very active job. And so I started skateboarding again. I started working out again, and tapping back into the things I was doing before I full dived into my depression and my addictions. And And so I started taking care of myself. It was all from ego still, and vanity. And then I got into, when I rolled my ankle and had to quit that job, I moved back up to Front Royal area and stayed with, moved right back into my dad's. And as soon as I moved back into my dad's, my old buddy that we collided together like a couple years before this, we just ran right back into each other and shot the shit, and immediately started becoming business partners together because we're along the same path of what we were trying to do. And so me and him, I was basically living at his place or staying at my dad's. I was jumping back and forth or sleeping in my car, and because he lived 30 minutes from me, and so and we're getting on into all these activities, all these side gigs, and as well as getting our certificates. And like, I picked up on yoga. I was eligible to take my master's for this energy therapy practice I was practicing. I already went through the 3 levels, and now I was eligible for my master's, and that energy therapy tied in with the business, the ultimate business and facility we want to run in the future. But our mindset right now was learning those things, but at the same time doing the things which is going to make us bank at the moment, really focus on making money. And so it led me to, because a lot of the things we were doing with like wholesaling and trying to get into wholesaling houses, getting into small side gigs of power washing and things like that. Then we got into some interesting things I don't even want to disclose on. And then we got into day trading, which he was already into day trading, so he was able to hop me right in. And immediately, because he worked during the day since he's a physical therapist, and so he had me on the computer all day doing that and making money through that. And so I picked up a night shift job because that's all we were focused on, was just working all throughout the day, working at any time our eyes were awake, and just whether it was working to make money or working to invest in ourselves to build up our ourselves. So that's all we were focused on. And so it led me to getting a night shift job where I was a server and for that Irish pub, and it was nice because could only work 3-4 days a week, and really 3 days a week, and all that fun stuff. And so through that is where I ran into Livy. I didn't mean to use her name, but I ran into this girl, and very pretty girl, very interesting, and shot the shit with her a few different times, and then really started being drawn to her as she seemed very interesting and interesting, and eventually led me to asking her if she wanted to get together sometime and hanging out. And I think what was going to happen, actually, we were going to go bar hopping with this one couple, but then I think she was intrigued with my other option of me and her going to this farm, the river and the farm. It wasn't a farm I'm allowed on. It was a farm I actually stumbled upon when I was tripping off shrooms, and ate the best mango in my life on that farm. And not only that, I went there and it was literally raining stars, like the sky, because there's no light pollution out there. It's out in the woods. It's out there, and man, the stars literally look like it's just pouring down, and Milky Way and all the coagulation of all the stars, and like it was wild. And so I had to go back over there and make sure it wasn't just me tripping, but sure enough, it wasn't just me tripping. It was really pretty, and so I suggested that's what me and her should get into. because when I first started talking to this girl, I could tell she was really worn out, because herself, she was she trains down in the city. She also trains up here where I live, as well as running classes and doing that and of that nature. I'm pretty sure now she's an owner of the place. But she would have those two things, and she worked like 4 jobs, including running the business she was running here, or not running the business, but running the classes here, and then being like a desk person over at the other institute, and then our job, and then cleaning or something with houses, I think. But anyways, so she was very busy, and the little bit she told me about her mom and dad, it just sounds chaotic and unhinged, to the point where she's like the mature one, you know, and or has been through some things, has seen some things. And so I could tell immediately she was worn out, she was drained. And so I started opening her mind to the energy cultivation practices that I was into, you know, because that's what I was doing at the time. My focus was energy cultivation and doing movements like Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, doing breath work, all to connect with energy and cultivate that power and build your power, which of course you guys know is nothing I focus on now. Only power I'm reaching towards is my essence, is within myself, not taking anything from outside of me or depending on modality to give it to me. But yeah, so got her hip to all that stuff, and so because her friend was talking to me like, hey, we should bar hop, you know, do this, and I'm just like, man, she seems like she would actually really enjoy resting, you know, having some peace and ease, and having a safe space created for her to let go and feel good. And so that's why I suggested me and her go to the farm and the river, and yeah, so everything was chill, everything was cool. I'm pretty sure even before that, maybe it was after, I think it was after actually, but so that was like our first hangout. I don't know if you'd call it a date, more of a hangout. And we went out there and took her out to the farm, walked her out there, and walked her through a couple breathing exercises, or just one, and it led into like, it was just a meditation, you could say. And immediately, like, I could just see her letting go, digressing, de-stressing, you know, and just really coming to ease. And as we did that, it was pretty wild. Like, I still remember this quite vividly, is just when we opened our eyes after breathing, because I think we were holding each other's hands and like just standing there connected with each other, and she just had this glow, like her beauty was really shining. It was very interesting. And then because at this time I was trying to move slower with girls. I was no longer addicted to the sex, you know. I was more trying to connect intimately, and not I didn't want to make her feel like she was being used for sex or anything. So because as soon as we got done with the breathing, opened our eyes, immediately I knew she wanted to kiss. And I was like, I just went into the next thing of, let's do some Tai Chi together, partner Tai Chi, where you connect your it wasn't anything specific. It was more just like, let's put our hands together and just flow and see if we can follow each other. And sure enough, put our wrists out, just did one hand at first, showed her a little technique of just moving her arm by herself, moving her arm, and just really flowing with it, and getting to the point of moving fluid with it. And she and then we connected and started moving together with our wrists, and it was cool because we followed each other very well. We and then went to both hands, and then just went on with our night from there. You know, it was a good night. But yeah, I just really remember her glowing. Like, you could just tell all that stress just went whew. And she finally got to settle down. She finally got to relax. She finally got to just be at peace and at ease, and not have to feel that she had to meet obligations or work towards anything, or meet these demands and get to completing these demands over here and rush, go, you know. She finally got to, boom, be at peace, be at ease. And just with the little bit she shared with me about her childhood, it's just, for me, it just seems like having to prove herself and having to feel worthy. She had to do quite a bit of things, but you know, she only told me very little, so we didn't really get into much of that, because at that time I didn't know what I know now. And so I was just so focused on making the best of where you're at now, and just making the right decisions and cultivating this energy and power. But yeah, it was so weird, because after that night, you know, thought everything went well, thought we had connected deeply, and I noticed she wasn't responding to me through texts as often, and she was just like off-putting a bit. But I didn't pick up on the signs. I kept trying to make things work. I kept trying to hang out, kept doing, and it's weird because, like, even though that was the case, we still would we'd still after work, get in the car, make out, um, and we even danced, went to, not necessarily a club, it was something our restaurant was affiliated with. It was called the Monument, where they would host singers or DJs, or even Latino music and all kinds of different vibes, and people just go there and dance. And so me and her went a couple times and just danced, which were really fun dancing with her. But I could just tell as the days went on, she was just more and more avoiding me. And you know, I was at the point where I was starting to respect myself. You know, I was no longer yeah, I just started respecting myself more. I started calling things out for when I saw them. I started standing up for myself more, speak my mind more. You know, just coming out of that depression, I just felt like that's what I had to do. I could no longer play games. I could no longer be passive. I had to do what I had to do. And so I wouldn't say I called her out, but I confronted her, of course, through text, because it was one night we were supposed to hang out, and she just, after work, she just vanished. And so I was like, nah, dude, something's up. So I immediately hit her up and was like, you gotta give me an answer now, because you know, you can't be wasting my time. I don't want to waste your time. And I can't remember if she, like, slowly, if I had to, like, kind of get it out of her, or if she told me or not. But she ended up coming to the conclusion of, I feel like she told, like, skewed it a little bit, and then I had to say it for her, and she agreed. So I remember being furious, like, just pissed, like, man, what the fuck? Like, one, because of being played and all these things, but the other, now, which goes to the point of this video, is you know, with her being a high level athlete, you know, Pan Am Pan Am champion, and you know, she travels across country to grapple. She's well known, and so that and her being gorgeous was like a huge ego boost for me. And I realized, and it goes into partly with my mom, how she would always be so critique on who we talk to. I actually never brought any girl around her except for one when I was in middle school, actually, and the girl was 3 years older than me. But yeah, my mom, I mean, I would see how she would do it with my sisters, is telling them if the man doesn't have money, he's not worth it, he's a piece of shit, blah blah blah. Like, dude, it was all about looks, it was all about money, it was all about what they can do profession wise, and how they can support, but it was never about the humanity in the person. It was never about a real connection. It was all about using people for your benefit. And so that's what I got from her. And so also the trauma bond with my mom, of having to prove myself and all that. So this girl, it really made me feel like, oh, I considered dating her, because one, she boosts my ego and making me feel worthy because I'm able to get a girl like this. And so it made me feel worthy. Having her at the moment made me feel fulfilled. I felt great, felt on top of the world, you know, was able to stick to my shit because she made me feel that way. And and then the ego boost of, oh, look at what I'm able to pull. Oh, look at, you know. So even right there, it wasn't even like, even though I was trying to connect with her and talk and get to know each other on a deeper level, my intentions were more so to fulfill my lack, to fill my void. That's why I was ignoring the red flags after that first night we hung out, because I needed her in order to fill this void and to boost my ego. So it wasn't taking into consideration how she really felt and all those things. Although that's everything I tried talking to her about at the breakup, but she, like, there's something with her because she's very closed off. It's funny because, like, I seen a post that she posted and it was about talking and getting things out, and it's like, man, how many times have I tried that with you and you wouldn't even say anything, or very, very surface level, if anything. And so it's just strange because, like, people want help so bad, people want a safe space so bad, that they unknowingly speak about it. They show it in their words and their actions, but they will disagree if you confront them with that. Or yeah, so, and that's the thing, like, I think that night, like, I created such a safe space for her to express, to feel, to feeling seen, you know, feeling seen, feeling heard and such, even though we didn't really talk much, but just that feeling, that setting I set for us of just being at complete ease and just fully letting go and flowing and connecting with each other through, you know, touch and such, but yeah, that it made her uncomfortable, you know, when you actually feel what it feels like to be vulnerable by being in a space where someone's allowing you to be authentic and real and express fully and all these things. It triggers you in a way, because once you get in a space like that, it starts to remind you of things. It starts to remind you of misfortunes in your life that you've suppressed or have been working on suppressing. So I feel like our night probably brought to surface some things, or started bringing flashbacks and thoughts flashing in her head that to where she probably didn't connect it with me, but was just in some way, because she felt maybe so at dis-ease and uncomfortable after all that, it uncomfortable because of what it brought to her, because that's why, I mean, that night we connected so deeply. She seemed such at ease and at even gratitude for what we just did, and being respectful to her, and so yeah, it wasn't that it was like, it's some subtle subconscious level of like, oh, when I'm with this person, it's gonna bring these it's gonna make these things arise. And so that's how I think she tied it. She didn't even consciously know she was doing it, but subconsciously it set that for her, to where she just peeled apart and avoided me, because like she was so she would not say it in words about not wanting to talk anymore. Even like, even with me confronting her, she still wouldn't say it out plain in words. Like so it's just a very interesting situation. But yeah, so, but that's the thing, I was holding on to her through my own lack and my own void and my own feelings of unworthiness and inadequacy, and plus my program beliefs and the program propaganda of having to have a partner to feel fulfilled, having to have a partner in order to receive a love you've never received, you can't get by yourself. So yeah, that's my take on that situation. Because, and why I got into all that is because when she first came into my head, when I was going to go get some movement, immediately I was thinking, man, you know, it'd be nice hitting her up and seeing if she want to hang out sometime and just talk. But as soon as I thought of that, and it started bringing back those feelings, which I guess I haven't healed all the way. I haven't actually faced fully, which I did this morning, because I was like, no, dude, I should not be feeling that after, you know, especially with where I'm at on my journey now and my healing. So I confronted it. I got way deeper with it than what I'm doing right now, but this is kind of what the things I came across, of how it was all coming from lack, a void, from being mistreated as a child and taught the wrong things, and being in an environment that propagates always looking outside of you for fulfillment and that completeness and that love. And yeah, so but man, you know, then having to come to terms with that whole situation, it started flashing all kinds of memories and thoughts of, oh my God, my whole life of these sexual relations, you know, because this feeds in through my entire high school years, middle school, blah blah blah, of so I'll put it in one word of how we used to describe it back in with my peer group in school in my generation. I feel though that this has been a term used for a while though, is a fuckboy. So even though I wasn't, so as I've told y'all before, I was very sneaky low key and played an innocent character in front of people. Which all that kept me out of a lot of trouble I got into back in high school. It rescued me in many situations, and it also helped me play people, because I knew how to play an innocent mask and come across as a good person, and while low-key being dirty and sneaky, and always making decisions that set me up for getting what I needed, what I felt I needed. And so that's how. So and when it came to girls, I was very, very slick and sneaky. So middle school, I wouldn't want to date anybody, because not only was my mindset set by friends' dads and older people, and talking about their only regret is not fucking as much as they could and getting with as many girls as they could. I mean, that's really what I would hear and be told by adults and older people, like 50s and such, and saying I just wish I enjoyed my younger age more, and fucked bitches all day long, and got my rock off, and all these things, popped my top off, and all these things, and so that's what everything I did was to get girls. Everything from working out. If I didn't want to work out one day, I'd be like, well, I need to, I'd just think of girls, and it'd be, girls were my motivation. Sex was my motivation. Yeah, and because I always had a very sexy physique. I was ripped my entire childhood, but then, later in middle school and then high school, I really started putting on some muscle and definition. And it's just crazy, like, how highly sexualized my entire adolescence was, because I never thought of myself as a fuckboy, even going through all those years up to like 11th grade. Never thought of myself as a fuckboy, but then now looking back, I was like, dude, I was nothing but a fuckboy. And so, because it was literally girl after girl after girl, shit, 2-3 girls at the same time, girl after girl after girl, just constantly. But my thing was innocent girls, very innocent girls, virgins, girls that didn't get around, all that. I was very into innocent girls, as well as physically attractive looking girls. So if they were hoary or not, if they were attractive, they look beautiful. I was into those girls, as well as I was taught that looks was everything. And so, and the reason why innocent girls was my thing was because they were hard to get, and anything that didn't want me right away showed me that I wasn't worthy, and I had to work myself to become worthy enough to receive that. And so I wasn't into really easy girls. Easy girls was just when just wanted to pop my top off, get my dick wet. That was it. But really, that wasn't too often, actually, because I was more into the innocent girls, the girls who were low key, the girls who and that's why I never had that name of fuckboy, was because I always got with the innocent girls. And it's just crazy, because I guess I really turned into that based on my middle school years, because in my middle school years I would hang out with high schoolers. I always hung out with people like 4 or 5 years older than me, and so I'd be at their house, and or you know, we'd be drinking, we'd be partying, whatever. But all these girls older than me, man, they would always adore me, would tell me, oh, if you were my age, I would get with you, I would date you, this and that, playing me, you know, getting me riled up. And but then by the nighttime they go with all the older guys, you know, they wanted nothing to do with me. And I'm like, man, what the fuck? Like, so I remember feeling like inadequate. I remember feeling like so of low value and not worthy. Because before that, you know, I was true. Like I wanted a relationship. And because, so going back to the girl, the one girl I let my mom meet, I was like 12 or 13. She was 15 or 16. And we actually met through a church because my mom was trying to be Jewish at the time. And so we would go to this Jewish church, and me and her met. And you know, I played it cool with her because I skated at that time. So I would skate with her younger brother. And then eventually me and her got talking, and started getting together. And I would invite her over to my mom's house as soon as my mom would leave the house to go to work, because I stayed at my mom's house this one summer for like the entire summer. And I would clean that house spick and span, and then cook an entire breakfast of eggs and just all kinds of things, and setting up everything. And I'd invite her over. She'd have to bring her brother so that her mom, her parents knew that they were going for a walk or something. And because at the time she only lived like, it was interesting, the church is 30 minutes away, but somehow she only lived like 5-10 minutes from us, and walk. And so we would always walk and meet up. And but yeah, I'd invite her over, and it was funny because her brother would just have to watch us doing things and all that. And but you know, he had his breakfast and stuff, he was occupied. But yeah, so, but it was like, you know, very pretty girl, very cool girl. But my mom, man, she would hit on her so hard, calling her a hoochie mama, and just being nasty and mean. And I'm just like, oh my God. But yeah, so, you know, back then I actually wanted, I wasn't a fuckboy at that time. You know, I wanted, out of lack though, and out of a void, and out of feeling incomplete, I wanted but I wanted something more true. Like I was up for relationships. But after going through all that, with hanging out with these high schoolers and these older people, and watching everybody else get the pretty girl and leave me, and only because they were older. But so, you know, I've talked on how I played with girls when I was younger, you know, 6 years old, all the way up to like 12 and such, going to their house, trying to have sex and not able to have sex because you're just like, whatever. But so when I really lost my virginity was 8th grade, and was 8th grade, and that just, boom, turned me into a fuckboy. Because after that, it was like girl after girl after girl after girl, a couple girls at the same time. I mean, even still my 8th grade year, still had a threesome at within that time frame of losing my virginity. It was no later than 9th grade, but I'm pretty sure it was definitely 8th grade. And it was funny because I invited my friend to go hang out with these 2 girls, the one I was intended on hanging out with and getting with. And we get there, we all lay down, and the girls, me and the one girl try playing it cool, making it seem like we're just trying to all hang out, have a good time. And so we actually didn't lay together on the floor, and I laid with the one girl that was supposed to go with my friend, hopefully go with my friend, and she was playing with me. And so me and her ended up moving up into the bed, and but playing it real cool, making it seem like we weren't doing it intentionally, and we started doing things immediately with being quiet. And then the one girl, she still didn't know. She jumps on top of me out of nowhere, and and it was so funny because here I am playing with these two girls, and the one had no clue about the other, and yeah, so that was wild. My friend was he was giving me props, but he was pissed. He was like, man, what the fuck? Like, I had to sit there and just listen the whole night. But it's things like that, you know. And then even I was just so what's weird though is I was able to get all these girls, and I would feel if they were hard to get, I would put all my time and energy into getting them. But as soon as I would get them, it was like, done. You know, don't want to talk anymore, don't want to get together anymore, I'm done. And so it's very strange because it's like, fuck, you know, why is that? Because it was like, I almost feel like once it started getting more deeper and more intimate, I couldn't handle that. I couldn't handle that at all. I had to cut it off immediately after completing the mission of getting in bed with them or whatever it was. And yeah, it's crazy that like random, as I'm talking about this, random memories are popping up, and like so much in my 8th grade year, because I remember getting with this girl at a party in the woods, and then right as soon as I got out of the woods, I went in the house, and then this other girl tackles me into the bed and just starts making out with me. And so that's what I mean. Like, I was popular. I wasn't a popular guy who was outspoken and going crazy and holding his head high, but because I was very low key, I was quiet. Unless if I was with my group, I was quiet. I didn't talk to anybody. I stayed cool. I got along with everybody. Like I said, I really played that innocent card. But yeah, yeah. But yeah, for some reason, so yeah, these easy girls would be like, whatever, any girl I could get, just throw them off. But as soon as someone was hard, it was like that mission has to be complete now. That mission is the only thing to focus on, because if I couldn't complete it, I felt like I was I had this void now. I felt like I wasn't worthy, and not only that, now I have an attachment to this girl because she doesn't want me and I want her, and so I was gonna do everything I could to get her, and so it was so wild, and I would feel like that with her until I got her, and then it was like, all right, next one. Yeah, it was just so wild. But yeah, highly sexualized. Like, I even remember being in 6th, 7th grade, and older girls would at like games and shit like that, even party, because I was very shredded for a young kid, and they would lick food off of me. Like, I've had whipped cream sprayed on me and licked off of me. I've had I remember being at a football game and hitting on these older girls, and they pour nacho cheese all down my abdomen and licked it off, and like, just so wild. And those things made me feel good about myself. Those things actually made me like proud of myself, and like just viewing myself as worthy, using those things to view myself as worthy and such. And yeah, it's just crazy, man, because I've ruined relationships, even relationships that, like, this girl lived an hour away from me, but her brother wrestled, and she even wrestled, and got to talking with her, and convinced her in dumping her boyfriend. And so, you know, anytime our teams met up at the same tournament, she would come over to my hotel room. It was funny. One time, because she had one of the guys from the team walk with her just in case, you know. And this was the first time we hung out in a hotel room, and immediately she gets in bed with me, and he's like, so he sits at the end of the bed. I don't think she filled him in on everything, but and then my buddy was like, okay, I'm gonna cut weight in the bathroom. This man, he was like, I'm gonna go cut some weight in the bathroom. And so he's in the bathroom cutting weight. Her partner ends up going outside to wait on us, you know, telling her, you know, you let me know when you're ready to leave. And but yeah, got with her then, and then even drove out to where she lives in the city and brought her out to where I live, which was like a 50-minute hour drive, and got with her here. And for some reason, like, I mean, we connected so deeply, but like as soon as we got together, as soon as the sex and all that happened, I immediately cut her off. Like I was done with her. And so it's and it was like, okay, you proved me that I'm worthy. Now I got to go on to the next person, because now you can no longer prove to me anything. Now you can no longer give me what I need, in the sense of, she could have given me what I need by playing my game and such, but what I really got a dopamine hit from, what I really got assurance from, was being able to get any girl I wanted to get. And so that was like my main objective. I mean, even to the point, I was a freshman, and I found this girl's necklace, and come to find out it was a senior. Dude, my freshman year was wild. I mean, getting these because that's when like my muscles really started developing, and I had the girls would always talk about my back muscles and things like that. Like I said, I was an attractive kid, but so like I remember because that's when me and my friend group really started forming, was like my 8th grade, 9th grade year. And and they would, I mean, a grade above me and in my grade, and they're, you know, we're just getting these seniors and shit. I mean, it's just wild, man. We were really living it, in the sense of the American dream, right? And yeah, I remember finding this girl's necklace, and really pretty girl, senior, and like it made no sense not to, with how I was, to keep her, you know. I remember meeting her at the Dunkin' Donuts to give her a necklace, and we ended up talking for like 2-3 hours. And right then and there, because that was around the same time my grandparents were thinking I was gay, because I didn't date anybody, I didn't bring anybody around the house, and because that was the time, like I said, I didn't date. I never wanted to date, because dating didn't do anything for me, you know. I needed that stimulation of a different girl every week, one after the other. And so that's why I didn't date. And when I was that young, I would never did anything around the house. I always went out, because I was always allowed to walk around town and such. And yeah, so I get with this girl, because she's been in the newspaper for one of the things she was working on. She was a president in one of the school activities that we had, and got with her and immediately cut everything off. I mean, it was yeah, I got her in bed and then cut her off, and I remember bragging to my grandparents because it was so ironic how they were like, they saw this girl in the newspaper and was talking about her at the table. And I was like, oh no, because I told them about finding her necklace, telling them her name, and then she ended up being in the newspaper like a couple days after that, and ended up talking about it after I had slept with her, and she and I bragged to my grandparents. I was like, yeah, actually that's a girl I slept with, and because I was telling them, I was like, I'm not fucking gay, you know. And then after that, it just took off. After that, after I let them know what I did, because that's who I was living with, my step grandparents from 8th grade all the way up to 11th, and man, I was bringing girls to the house all the time, 2 girls at the same time, so crazy, 2 girls at the same time, multiple times. And yeah, so that's you know, just sharing some memories, because it's just so wild to look at, like, because at the time I really looked at myself as innocent and not a fuckboy, and looking back at it, I mean, these are just some memories, you know. This doesn't take into account the number of girls I've fucking played in my life too. Yeah, I mean, it's just wild. But yeah, it's so I hit on my one relationship. This one relationship I had, this was the first relationship I wanted to get in, and it was with this girl. She was actually younger than me, a grade below, but very cute, and but I didn't even realize that she had just gotten out of a 3 or 4 year relationship with a guy a grade above me, and I was all head over toes, or heels over whatever, head over heels, whatever, however you say it, for this girl. And you know, the first 3 weeks are like magnificent. I remember just going to my dad and saying, oh my god, like, I think I found real love, I think I found true love. And this was my 11th grade year. Sure enough, man, she hands me her phone of the guy grade above me, hitting her up, and because he saw that she was with me, and immediately he was like, all right, time to break this shit up, with not even the intention of getting her back, just fucking everything up. And she showed me the text. I'm like, what the fuck you want me to do? Like, block the motherfucker. Like, it's only you do with it what you want to do. But and like, I don't know what she was expecting me to do, be a fucking hero and go out there and kill him, you know, like, stand my ground. And but yeah, so sure enough, like a week after that, I come to find out she hung out with him and fucked him and did all this. They fucked like all weekend long, and that like just straight up devastated me. I was like, man, what the fuck? And because I was actually talking about dating this girl. I was actually, right before that, I was gonna ask her out. I was planning a way on how to ask her out. She was the first girl I ever went on like multiple dates with, and actually went out and did stuff together, without the intention of it being for sex. And so that happened. I was like, man, what the fuck? I was so torn apart. But then immediately I was such a sucker that I allowed her to come back into my life. But I was so I was still affected by what happened. So like, I was off-putting with her. And then came my wrestling, and during this season I was actually cutting 25 pounds and just fully focused on wrestling, so I had to cut her off. in a way that I didn't give her any more of my attention, but she would keep showing up at my wrestling meets and such. And then but then she ended up getting with this other guy that she tried warning me about, and I was like, but when she did that, I was just completely disgusted, wanted nothing to do with her. And then after that, after my wrestling season ended and we just spent a good while of not talking, we just randomly ran into each other and started talking. And then, but because of the first thing she did, and then getting with this other guy, she told me I didn't have to worry about it at all, which was older than me again. These girls, they just love the older guys and the bad guys. I ended up fucking her very best friend, like her number one friend, to get back at her. And oh man, that was something. Got with her best friend without her knowing multiple times, but it was while we were split apart, you know. She did those things while we were talking, and so I wasn't in the wrong, really, though I had ill intentions. And but as soon as we started talking that last time, because all the blame was put on her, she was seen as the bad person, everybody knew what she did and everything like that. But man, when we got back to talking, I had such an immense guilt of needing to tell her that I got with her best friend. Her best friend was already like, well, if she finds out and she asked me about it, I'm not gonna lie. Because in a way, I was like, can you kind of keep it on the down low? Like, I want to tell her, it's eating me up, but can you keep it on the down low until I find the right time to tell her? And then she told me that. I was like, oh God. So I just straight up told her. And man, she put all of the blame on me. It was like she was looking, it wasn't even that she was trying to get back together. It was like she was waiting for a time to put all the blame on me so that I seemed like the bad guy. And it was crazy because after that, all her friends, other than that best friend, because they immediately broke up after that, looked at me as the piece of shit and everything because it was her best friend. But yeah, that was one relationship that really threw me. That is what really started bringing up because after that happened, I did feel like a piece of shit. I did feel like I fucked up immensely because I did the one thing that she despised, and that's the reason why she wants nothing to do with me now. And so, I mean, I was so eaten up. I mean, crying and fucking just feeling like complete shit. Couldn't even do any tests. Couldn't even focus in school. Punching walls in school. Busting up my knuckles. Getting blood on the walls. Getting called to the office for acting out. I mean, all these things. Getting deeper into drugs. I mean, taking so many drugs. Started going to school drunk. I would take bottles of soda that were half and half with vodka and liquor, and get so drunk in the morning that lunchtime I would be passed out the entire lunch periods because we had like 3 or 4 lunches back to back. Yeah, man. So because it started bringing up all kinds of emotions and shit I've been suppressing. And because that really made me feel like shit. That made me feel like, I mean, I just lost it. And yeah, so, and that led me to, because I was getting so bad, then I started doing really bad things, and to the point where I got kicked out of a county for an activity I was doing one night that I somehow got out of. It was just so nuts. And I knew I had to leave because my uncle at the time from PA, he was telling me I could move up there with him, you know, because me and him were really close, and all these things. It wasn't because he knew what I was going through, but I think he said it pretty much every year of my high school year. Yo, if you ever want to move up here, you have a place. So 7 days before school started, I actually made the decision. I was like, I gotta fucking leave, because I saw that I wasn't gonna make it through that school year. I was probably gonna kill myself, whether intentionally or not. I was just so majorly depressed. I knew if I kept seeing that girl, that I was gonna lose my mind having to see her every day at school. So that really kickstarted me. That really kickstarted my journey of where I'm at now, of finally of making my own decision, of leaving my comfortability of this area I lived in from third grade, for my second year of third grade all the way up to 11th grade, and dipping out of there and moving straight up to Pennsylvania. I packed my entire car and just dipped out on short notice. Like that day, the day before, I was like, yeah, I'm leaving, and then left. And but yeah, I got up there, and so then after all that, after my senior year up in PA, and because even when I went up to PA, my intentions going up to PA was just to get wild. I knew I was gonna be free. I knew I was gonna be spoiled, and so all I was focused on was partying. And because the school I was moving to, just to get an idea, here was 130 kids to a class. Up there was 650 kids to a class. And so, and the area was very wealthy. And so I moved up there, and when I saw that, because at first I didn't know it was like that, and then I really got to see how humongous the school was and everything, and I was like, oh shit. And then I got to tour the town a little more and see the houses, and I was like, oh shit, like this is gonna be fun. And yeah, immediately as soon as I started making connections at the school, going to parties, they party all up in Ocean City and party in these mansions or these huge houses. And so I was partying a lot, and getting with girls. Actually met the sugar mama of my life, but I fucked that up by that brain injury, because when I got the brain injury, I was so fucked up that I couldn't even speak to anybody, so I cut her off. Most beautiful girl I've probably ever talked to in my life. Like, it blew my mind how interested in me she was. I was like, oh my god, is this a dream? Like, I was like, what the fuck? And she was filthy rich. She was black and Russian. But yeah, black girls, man, they were the most nastiest things to me. Like, how they would talk to me. Like, black girls just wanted to fuck the shit out of me for some reason. But I never got with a black girl. She was actually the first one I ever hung out with, though it never was anything more than that. I don't even think we kissed. Maybe we did, I don't know. But yeah, yeah, so I was having a bunch of fun up there, and then boom, that brain injury within the first 3 months of going to school there. And it threw me. And that's what led me into my journey now. Really was that decision moving up there, but the brain injury for sure, because I was all ego when I moved up there. But it was also about finding myself. Like, it was very interesting throughout my high school years, throughout all this craziness of being sleazy and such. I wanted good human intentions, but it was just, for some reason, I couldn't hold a relationship, an authentic relationship, or a deep relationship that made me feel vulnerable. Like, I had my walls so built that I couldn't let anybody know my secrets, you know? And to get deep in a relationship, it took being vulnerable. So yeah, it was it was pretty wild. But no, I just wanted to hit on, man, you know, because my dad even used an example of a girl I went to meet on my way back from my road trip. Midway on my way back, I stopped at this girl's house and stayed there for like a week. And she, you know, we liked each other and we talked about what we would do during the summer or winter. But I think it was during the winter, and she talked about staying up where it's very cold and snowing almost year round, you know, and being able to snowboard all the time because she really enjoys the cold and snowboarding. But me, I'm like, I've always hated the cold, and I was like, so immediately I was like, fuck, well, how is this gonna work? And immediately I turned into a salesman of trying to convince her on traveling with me down south and staying where it's warm year round. And my dad, he told me, he was like, well, you know, what if she wants to go back up north? What if she's depressed and like she feels shitty because she's not doing what she wants to do, but you're over here all good and dandy because at least you got her here, because that's your emotional support, because that's your validation, because that's your dopamine hit. You know, it's not even true love. You're just using her to fulfill your void. And it's like, yeah, you know, that's very true, because what would I do if she told me one day, man, I really feel like going up north and just going where it's cold and snowboarding and all that again? You know, would I go right back into my salesman tactics and convincing her to stay and not leave and all these things, you know, out of selfishness and greed and for my own benefit? You know, that's it's a lot of things to take in. And you know, that's my thing with Livy is said her name again, fuck, is because that's the one girl I'll think about and be like, man, I really wish that worked out. And part of that's because I felt like I could have helped her out so much, as well as she could have helped me out so much. I think that's where a lot of that comes from, wanting that to have worked out, and just her being a very neat and interesting person. But I'm like, man, you know, that's not something that's something I gotta dig deep on, because there shouldn't be this need of there shouldn't be this feeling because I don't have her. Because they came back, it was like, even though I'm at where I'm at, I know I have my perspective on relationships and all this, and perspective on wholeness from within. I still felt that when I thought about her. I was like, oh, hold on, I gotta dig deep on this. And so now I'm really, you know, it helped because I'm able to see now. It wasn't that I was in love with her. It wasn't that I was that I was in love with her and I wanted the best for both of us. But it was more so I needed my benefit. I needed to fulfill my void. That's what I was seeking out from her. Was I saw her as a good candidate to fulfill my void, and to distract me, and to validate me and make me feel worthy and whole and fulfilled. So yeah, it's those are things to just think about. But no, I think that it did really help me sitting on that today, because I was like, man, I there's no way, like, I'm not gonna have this feeling every time I think about her. It would be cool though to get in contact with her and talk sometime, you know, hang out and talk just with where I'm at, see where she's at. But yeah, yeah, there's just this, this is a big thing for me to break, and I have to realize that any girl I approach again is with the right intentions. Because I broke away from my addiction to sex, really was like 2021, I think, because I went through this, I I went through this sex spree when I was just like girl after girl after girl within same week and all that, and just having to have sex all the time. But because that was also like a couple years into fasting and doing these modalities, because that's when I first started getting into the energy therapy. I was marketing it and everything, and I was getting a bunch of girls coming in, and it was really it wasn't my intention originally, maybe subtly, but it was a really good way to get girls into wanting to have sex with me. So like when I did that whole energy therapy thing, I was getting laid a lot. And but I noticed like after a while of that, because then I started it was like these other group of girls I was going through, but I was I forget what it was. I think I started coming across semen retention, but because I was having so much sex and so frequently, I was starting to think to myself, because I was still, because of the 2 years of cleaning myself out and doing this energy therapy, which this energy therapy allows things to flow. Like I remember my first energy session, it was like, it made me cry. It gave me a boner too on the table and like all these things, and I was like, wow, like emotions were flowing, everything. And so I started becoming more sensitive, you know. I started tapping into what I was feeling more, and I just saw the sex was such a fleeting thing. Like it was like immediately after sex, and immediately as soon as she left, if we weren't laying together for the rest of the night or whatever, it was like, fuck, man, I still feel completely empty. I still feel shitty. I still feel like a waste of breath. Like, what the fuck? And yeah, yeah, so I remember getting so sensitive and so aware, because this is when I started hitting on older women too. I mean, like older women. One of the women I was doing that practice with, she was like 50s, maybe just turned 60, but like looked very good, like very healthy and well taken care of. And I remember we would just flirt like crazy, and even my teacher tried getting something set up between us too. Like I was, oh my gosh. But yeah, but I started noticing, I was like, man, you know, I started realizing that, man, these girls really feed off of this sex. Like I started seeing that. I was like, is it even from me, or is it just that they're just trying to get their top off too? So even then I started realizing, I'm like, man, these girls are just sex freaks. But but yeah, I started observing while having sex. I was like, well, let me realize what's going on. Let me observe what's really going on. And it seemed so fake. Like it was just a hype of the moment, you know? It was just like, something just didn't ring right with me. I was like, man, these girls are just, and me, like, because the sex was like doing a drug to the point where the drug and doing such a high amount of a dosage, it just wasn't hitting it wasn't doing anything. And that's what that was doing for me. I was like, man, like I'm not getting anything from this. I no longer, the only thing I got from it was the pride and to boast, brag about it outside of, you know, because now you're out of high school, so there's no longer that peer group and all that drama and stuff to brag about your status. So now you're just, all that gets broken up, and now it's just to your buddies and everything, and your work, your peers at work. So it was like, there was no longer that stimulation. So all I was left with was the feeling of fulfillment I got having a girl's attention, as well as the stimulation from it all. But now I was really highly observant. I think it was like 2021, and I was just like, I remember it was like these last 3 girls, and the one after that, she was like crying and shit and pouring her heart out to me about all kinds of things. I was like, man, what the fuck? I didn't sign up for this shit. So that really just shows where I was at that time as well. But then the next girl, and keep in mind, these were all girls that came from men. Actually, it was 4 girls in this like 2-week period. And I was like, the last girl, I stopped halfway. I stopped and I was like, look, I can't do this anymore. I was like, it's not you, it's me. To make her feel better, I laid with her the rest of the night. Like, didn't want her to seem like I was just trying to get her done and that. But yeah, I just remember sitting there and just like contemplating and like, wow, like what the fuck. Like the thing that's supposed to be a height of our life, and I'm not even getting anything from it. But yeah, after that, man, that could have been 2020 or 2021, but either way, I started doing semen retention and all that, and abstaining from sex. That really helped break away from my addiction to sex. But it's crazy because like I've broken away from that addiction, but for some reason I can't stop having it. Like I'll hang out with these girls and it just happens, which is funny because this last girl, because so that actually kickstarted me into like digging deeper and everything, especially when I went deep into my depression. Like I just started becoming so much more sensitive of my past and my wrongdoings. And so like I started reaching out and apologizing to a lot of people. A lot of girls never even reached back out to me. They completely ignored my message. And like I said, it ties in with how sneaky I was before, to where they're like, oh no, fuck this motherfucker, he's just trying to play me again. So they can't even accept my words. And but then again, who knows what I said at that time, because that was way before this healing I've been doing now. But no, then when I started getting into this healing last year, when I moved back here in June, it was funny because right before I started hammering into this healing, I was with this girl because then I started letting girls know. I was like, look, I don't want a relationship. You know, we can get together, but nothing more than that. I'm not trying to get into a relationship. So I started letting people know. I started becoming more humane, right? And eventually, but of course, like, girls will agree with that, but then they think they can reel you into a relationship. And me and this girl, we really acted like we were in a relationship. I mean, spent a lot of time together, fucked everywhere, you know, went out on double dates or things like that. And but then I started getting into this healing, and I immediately cut her off. And I was like, all right, I don't need to focus on any women. And then it's funny because I'm pretty sure that Livy girl, she hit me up randomly. And I was like, no. Then I think it was a couple girls that hit me up, but I reached back out to this one girl who was like my best friend in 8th grade, and I pretty much lived with her for a little while, staying at her house every night and such. And we never fucked or anything. We're just really good friends, although we did have that kind of like, we wanted to, because we would lay together and all that, cuddle, but never kissed or anything. until like high school. Then we kissed at one point, and then we just haven't talked for years since. And then oh, she was one of the girls I did the twosome twosome thing with. But apologized to her. Because we've messed with each other after high school too, and actually had sex after high school. And then but I would, each time we'd have sex, which was like twice or three times, I wouldn't talk to her for months afterwards. And it's so fucked up. But you know, doing this healing, I came to her and I apologized to her for everything. I told her where my intentions were before and how I was, and I wasn't even trying to do it to get in bed with her. I just wanted to create a relationship, a friendly relationship with her, because she's like on this journey too, though she's really stuck in some ways. But so I thought it was really cool. Like I was like, oh shit, you know, we need to keep this connection. So because not many people are at this awareness, you know, it's good to build on this community. And you know, so we kept hanging out, everything. And there was one night, my cousin, when she had moved in here, she was having her mom and family come here that I didn't get along with. So I asked her if I could stay at her place for like a couple days, stay the night, you know, going to work in the day, then stay in the night. And sure enough, that first night, first or second, either way, we just started fucking and fucking all the time after that. And but she kept talking about relationship after I told her I already gave her my viewpoint on not getting in a relationship. And as soon as she really realized I was very determined on not getting in a relationship, she immediately just cut me out of her life. It was so crazy, because it's like wow. So yeah, you know, I've had that. So those were the times I had sex. The coming back, the girl, when I came back to Virginia and was living at my buddy's, like that was a sex addiction thing, but I was like looking at it as a way, because I told her, I was like, man, we can practice sexual kung fu and cultivate some energy, because I was still in that thought process of modalities, and I was into the tantra and everything. And so that's what I was telling her. I was like, you know, we can just, you know, we can kind of be support for each other, you know, no relationship, but like kind of like a relationship type deal. So I guess with all that, she was like, oh, maybe I can reel him into one. But that was definitely a sex addiction phase there, because it was all the time. And then, but I really, because I started seeing like the more we had sex, I really started coming back to, and plus my dad was opening me up to these thoughts of healing for real, and targeting our shadow and our psyches and our childhood. It started making me sensitive again. And so I immediately was like, cut her off, and then went into, then yeah, I came across that girl, got with her, cut her off. And because I wasn't even addicted, because that's what she even told me the first time we had sex. During sex, she's like, I thought you weren't addicted, because she's like, with the way you're moving, I thought you weren't addicted to sex. And dude, that kind of like, it didn't trigger me, but it like almost turned me off, because I was like, bitch, I mean, I could stop right now, because I really, at that time, I wasn't addicted. We just had, when I went to her house that first night, we just talked real deep that night, and was talking about all these things, and just got into the intimate later on, and as we laid down together. And so it wasn't like out of a sex addiction, it wasn't even my intention. But it happened. And but yeah, I kept fucking after that. And then after her, it was just one more girl, some random girl, which came from trying to juice over the past couple months. It was the first 35 days in that time period. I got with a girl, and So yeah, I mean, but it's so different now because it's not like I'm reaching validation or anything. It's just horniness, you know. It's just um, yeah, just out of pleasure. It's no longer seeking worthiness or seeking validation or seeking fulfillment. I guess it is in a way. If I'm seeking pleasure outside of myself, I can't find the pleasure within. I can't find the contentness within and the completeness within. That's why you're looking for pleasure. That's why you're looking for excitement. So, you know, in a way, it is using it for fulfillment. But yeah, that's my thoughts, man. On just this whole girl thing. I really wanted to get that out because it's, man, that's just something that's really controlled my entire life. All my decisions, everything I did was in a way of getting laid and getting laid and boosting my ego and feeling worthy and everything else, seen as the height of my life. You know, I guess it's good I got through these things of sex, drugs, alcohol, partying, because we're taught that these are like the highlights of our life, right? That these are things we'll look back on and wish we did more of. And it's good getting through it because it's like, man, what the fuck is this shit anyways? It's so low vibrational and means nothing. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's just things to keep us into our enslavement, because as you can see, in order to do those things of partying, of sex, getting women, drugs, it all takes playing the system. Girls like to know what you're doing with your life and seeing that you make money and that you look good and that your physicality is good and this and that. So that keeps you in the wheel of enslavement. Then in order to buy your drugs and your dopamine hits and to party and have fun in the way of this society, requires you to get on the wheel of enslavement. And yeah, man. So that's that. But yeah, just you know, those were the things that really controlled my life, because I really thought during my upbringing was like sex, drugs, and rock and roll is the way to live your life. You know, live it up, live it the fuck up. And that's how I've seen it. You know, that's what I've been doing since, I could say, 5th grade is when I really started. I always hung out with older kids younger, but 5th grade was really when I like started going to like high schoolers' houses and drinking with them and doing all these things and hanging out with girls and getting crazy like that, going to parties. I mean, even going to college parties at 8th grade, you know. Just crazy. Yeah. That's that. But yeah, I'm gonna peace out. Enjoy y'all's day, enjoy y'all's time, enjoy y'all's presence, and wish y'all the best of ease, the best wishes, you know. Hope y'all, I wish y'all ease and sanity and peace along this journey of realization and healing and detaching. And yeah, peace.